Hey, hope you guys are having an amazing Wednesday. It's Wednesday. I know that because I checked. um, yeah, my kids and I had a disagreement this morning about what day of the week it was. Today is Wednesday, just so you know. But hey, I wanted to pop on just super briefly because I know a lot of you are preparing to head back to school. I have followers from around the world. So some of us are literally going back to school like today. Others are still a whole month away. Some of us are somewhere in the middle. And I know there's a lot of different people. We have some people that are going back virtually, some people that are going back in person, and then there's some people in the middle. And so I wanted to just make sure that I was sharing some information about how to do back to school well. And one of the things that I wanted to make sure I talked about was how to guard yourself and your students from Zoom fatigue. Now, Zoom fatigue, if you're not familiar with this is a real phenomenon that has actually been researched, and people have been talking about it for a while, particularly during this COVID-19 crisis. But I think as we head into the fall, it is going to be even more of a challenge because our students may not have been doing anything academic over the summer. So you've got the addition of, you've got that spring version of learning that they had, which was for most kids not the same as what they're going to have in the fall. You got that summer slide that we typically have. And now you've got this unusual back to school season that we have. So it's a kind of the perfect storm set up for a not so fun start to the school year. But I am here to tell you that you can prepare a plan that will make sure that you are still meeting your students' needs and serving them. So if this is your first time catching one of my live videos, or if someone has shared this with you, my name is Cavalyn Day. I'm a family coach and educational consultant. My background is in school counseling, and I work with individuals and organizations to help them create wonderful scenarios and situations where kids can learn and grow and thrive. And so one of the things that I do is work with organizations to help them with their curriculums so that they are delivering information in a way that it's best received. So while most of us are considering delivering information in this virtual world, we got to realize that Zoom fatigue does happen. And what it basically means is that you almost become numb to the information that's being delivered. And you are more exhausted, you're bored, it just is not an ideal way to learn. So being on Zoom or some type of a learning platform for 6 to 8 hours a day, every day is not ideal. And if you look at the virtual schools that have been around for a while, because e-learning and homeschooling with this kind of virtual capacity isn't new, almost all of them have an e-learning component, but they also intersperse that with, in-person learning and book learning and, movement and different things. So nobody recommends just sitting in front of a computer screen for 6 to 8 hours. So if that is something that you are struggling with, I want to give you just a couple of tips to make sure that your Zoom or electronic versions of learning can be the best they can be. So the first thing I want you to do is get as comfortable as you can with the technology, and use a technology that works for you. I know sometimes in a school setting, you don't have the control of it. I would encourage you to practice with your technology, because there is nothing more boring than having somebody fumbling around with technology that they don't understand. I have actually heard, I don't know that there's data to back this up, but I've heard that there's quite a few teachers who were on the cusp of, retirement, or who have opted to retire just because they didn't like the technology in the spring and having to try and figure that out. And so rather than fiddle around with it this fall, they've just opted to take retirement. But I know a lot of people have struggled with that. So give yourself plenty of time to plan, to play around with it. And practice it. And then always go back. If you're uploading things, like if you're not doing a live lesson, if you're uploading things, always go back and check to make sure those things work the way that they're supposed to. Having a link that is not appropriate, or having, the wrong video get uploaded is not the end of the world. But having like 47 people email you all at the same time that something's wrong can get overwhelming. So make sure that you are as comfortable as possible with the technology. If you are doing like a live lesson, which is my preference, I prefer live. If you're doing a live lesson, make sure that you do everything you can to greet people as they come in. Now, Zoom has an option where you can actually do the waiting room feature. If you're not using Zoom, that's okay. Just come up with something that is like a virtual high five or a check-in or something. And it doesn't have to be super long. It can be a couple seconds, but just make a verbal acknowledgement of every person. Get that first kind of connection point. You might, if you would be the teacher who would stand there and shake hands or greet kids by name, you don't want to lose that personal touch when you go to the online world. So definitely do something to kind of greet them and welcome them. Even if you are typically doing like a bell ringer or some type of an opening activity, just do something to make sure that you connect with them on a day-to-day basis. Now, and then the last one, I want to make sure that you just don't ever do this. This is my pet peeve of all time. I have lots of pet peeves, but this is one of them. Don't read your slides. Okay, don't read your slides. Here's why I don't recommend reading slides. Because people hate it. It's boring. It numbs your brain. So don't read the slides. Now, if you're a person that says, I want to make sure they get the content and the information, and some of my students aren't great at taking notes, I would encourage you to give them a note taker, which, as you're writing out what you would want, your lesson plan, do that in a Word document format. And even if you go through and just take out a few of the words from your script and make that like a worksheet for them, that's fine. But you want to put something engaging on the screen. Our attention span is just literally shrinking by the minute. Most of us are used to watching a movie and holding our phone, or we're talking and we're, distracted. Even right now, you're watching this video. What are you doing while you're watching this video? Are you kind of listening to something? Are you got something else playing? Are you playing a game on your phone? There's all different ways that we're sort of distracted. And so if you just read at me, I'm going to lose a lot of the information that you're trying to present. So put images on your slides, put animations on your slides, intersperse some little videos, even if they're just kind of funny videos that are only modestly connected to the content. But do things to keep your lesson engaging so that kids actually can stay connected to it. And when you're doing that, make sure that you kind of wrap up with, maybe like a 30-second, exit strategy kind of quiz, and make sure that those really key points recircle around those key points the same way you would in a typical lesson, but it's just more important to do it in an audio way and a visual way and maybe a movement way. So we're going to have to look at some more creative ways of getting around that. So hopefully these little strategies will help you as you are preparing for the upcoming school year. If you are a school counselor, a school social worker, or provide mental health services or behavioral health services in your school, I'd love for you to join me for my virtual plan-a-thon day. That is something, I have a group of mental health providers and social workers on Facebook. It's over 1,400 of us from around the world. It's pretty amazing, and it is a free group. But I have a select few of those people who will be joining me for a virtual plan-a-thon day, which is where I will help you strategize what you should be focusing on for this school year, what's the best methods for delivering that content to your students, whether it's in-person, virtual, some blended version of that, or you have to prepare for both because you don't know what it's going to be. We're going to plan together. So we'll be brainstorming together. We'll be planning together. And when you leave, you will have an action plan that you can implement this school year. So it's going to save you so much time to do this plan-a-thon with me. The registration is going to be linked above or below, depending on where you're watching this video. But it's only $27 to join us, and it is live on August 5th. And you do get access to a recording. So even if you can't join us live that day, you can watch the recording and do your own plan-a-thon day on your own time, which will help you, because I don't want you spending all of your nights and your weekends plugged in trying to figure out how to come up with more content or more lesson plans. I want you to really help you get that streamlined so that you can have your nights and your weekends back. I do not want you working around the clock. So would love for you to join us for the plan-a-thon. Click the link above or below this video, and I will talk to you guys soon.